Who's the secret partner? It's gonna be.
All I have to say is our partner is going to shock the world because he is none other than the Shockmaster!
All right.
The Shockmaster!
I told you. Oh, God. He's so flat in his ass. Oh, man. So flat in his ass. Look at the size of him. I don't care who you are, boy. I don't give a damn who you are. You're gonna have us. You're gonna have Van Vader. And we're gonna be breathing through your neck.
So you're the man that rules the world. They call me the Shockmaster. You've ruled the world long enough, Sid Vicious. Get ready. Come on, you want a piece of me? You want a piece of me? Come and get me. Come after me, Sid. I'm ready. Along with Davy Boy, Sting, and Dusty Rhodes, we'll see you at the Fall Brawl at the War Games. Until then,
obviously I was there.
Obviously. Who came up with it?
I did. But Fred's a great guy.
Of course
we call him Uncle Fred. I'm going to tell you the story quickly. Uncle Fred, early in the day, had busted through this wall as the Shockmaster on a flare for the gold. Busted through the wall. Everything went good. David Crockett had somebody nail a 2x4 on the bottom of the new wall, which was not there when he busted through the wall the first time. Okay? The voice of Shockmaster was Ole Anderson. He was off in another deal with a microphone.
Also the voice of the Black Scorpion.
He had to say, I am the Shockmaster. I come to kick somebody's ass. You know what I mean? Well, we're all sitting there live, and all of a sudden the bomb went off, and Uncle Fred, poor Uncle Fred, Uncle Fred bust through, and he hit that 2x4 that David Crockett had put down there to sabotage my ass, had put there, and the Shockmaster fell flat on his ass. The helmet rolled off. He fumbled for the helmet, and I'm sitting there, what we call a gorilla position, and I'm started to rumble with the laughter to where they almost had to take me to the hospital. And as he fell and he found the helmet and he put it back on, and somebody stood up. And Ole's voice started cracking, and I'm the Shockmaster. So at home, they're watching this on television, all the kids. Young Cody's there. With all the kids, they're watching this. And the kids looked at it in fright, and they're laughing, and they looked at it in fright. And Cody turns around to all the other kids, and he says, I think that was Uncle Fred. And it was Uncle Fred. And if I'm laughing, the skit was over. Uncle Fred came out in front of the gorilla position table, and he knelt down and he flopped that helmet there.
And he said, I couldn't even talk. He used the F word. He said, I F'd this up, didn't I? I said, buddy, I laughed so hard. They had to take me to my room. I mean, I was laughing so hard. It was an amazing moment, almost as amazing as Ask the Question. My other one was the gobbledygooker. When I see the gobbledygook, you was involved in.
I had nothing to do with it.
But we have a battle all the time, me and Vince, all the time. Which was the worst? We'll be drinking or having a cocktail together, and he'll say, Shockmaster was the worst. I say, no, the gobbledygooker was the worst. So Shockmaster and gobbledygooker had to be two of the top of the line, and Uncle Fred was a great hand here, became World Tag Team Champions here. Him and Avalanche, an Earthquake, did a great job.
Hector Guerrero, great guy.
Yeah, and Hector, great job. But man, when he bust through, and fella, and I think he said, David Boy said, God rest his soul. I think David Boy said he fell on his ass, but he, which he did.
The PWR presents What If? What if John Cena turned heel? What if China became the first woman world heavyweight champion? What if Owen Hart never passed away? What if Magnum TA never got into a car crash? What if Hulk Hogan stayed with the AWA? What if Shawn Michaels signed with WCW? What if WCW won the Monday Night Wars? What if Vince McMahon's WrestleMania failed? What if?
I had to laugh a little bit longer, Reflection Nights, because we are in the month of October. And you know, the month of October is Halloween season. And for the PWR podcast here at the Halloween Media Group at PWHustle.com, we don't trick the Reflection Nights. We don't trick the Magnificent Seven. We don't trick the Halloween-ites. We don't trick the Vito-ites. We don't trick the PWC-ites. We give every eye in the spectrum the treats. We give you the treats of the movies. We give you the treats of the spotlights. We give you the treats of the rivalries. We give you the treats of the episodics. But most importantly, we give you the treat of all treats, where I keep doing the polls, and the polls say 100% that they love this treat more than every other treat that I give them, the what ifs. And we got a doozy of a what if before we even talk about it. But I'm in that good Halloween spirit. I'm in that good trick-or-treat spirit. I don't know what costume I'll wear. Maybe I'll wear my Joe Biden hugging costume so I can hug all the ladies out there over the age of 18 before TW be looking at me kind of weird and saying, oh, you want those dudes that slide in your DMs. But I'm not going to Epstein Island, but I'm going to have my gray hair Biden wig. I'm going to have a suit on, and I'm going to be hugging some 18-year-olds and over girls because Joe Biden cares about America like that. But anyway, neither here nor there. So welcome to the PWR podcast. And if you don't know me right now, I am the most charismatic one. I am the most affluent one. I'm the most scholarly one. I'm the most treatable one. But most importantly, I'm the most glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this political spectrum. You're a friend of mine, the Professor Chabela Cruz. And I'm not here alone. No. I am here with my brother from another mother. He's the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, the iron stomach one, Mr. Wonderful, dumb do idiot soul, the man that I don't, you know what? He looks like, you know, I even told him this, and I'll share this. I'll share this for the 12 that ride strong here. It was in our DMs, you know. No, I didn't. He didn't slide in my DMs, and I didn't slide into the TW's DMs because we are on the Pro Wrestling Reflection, you know, text summit here, if you will. But I found a clone, and it was already Halloween. I found a clone that looks like TW. Someone is already dressing like TW. He is very popular right now. I can't believe it. I forgot the dude's name, but it didn't need neither here nor there. But the dude has got a YouTube channel, and he has cloned this man. The only thing that this guy didn't have was the Hall of Wonders, and he did not wear sunglasses. He did not wear a cowboy hat or whatever the case may be. He did not wear any American shit, but he is he is a clone of TW. But I have the original. I have the original here. Proof positive, 100% grade A original. Woo! Tommy, wonder how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I tried looking up the guy's name while you're talking about it. It just says professional wrestling, Matt Riddle and Adam Edge Copeland. That's what he was talking about in the thing you sent. I think it shows his name, and he doesn't normally talk wrestling. So that's why I asked you, what? This guy has the face for radio. He has no charisma whatsoever. And what was he talking about before that he could just add wrestling to it?
That's why you are the original. That's a carbon copy. I don't want carbon copies. I want the original, and I have the original here at the PWR
Planet
podcast.
Papa, he's called. I gotta know how many. He's got 0 likes on this video.
As long as you don't call yourself Big Papa, I forget. You know, we've known each other for many years.
You said he's popular. This dude has 32 subscribers with 46 videos.
I never said he was popular. I said he's a carbon copy. I didn't say popular.
You said he's popular right now. He's out there.
No, I said you're popular. He wants to be you. He's dressing up as you for Halloween.
That makes way more sense.
That's what I'm talking about here. But anyway,
then you sent this other guy that looks like you. Says that's why the Illuminati's right. Implant your debit card info, and if you add 0, it's electrocuting. That's you with a side part.
Hey, you know, that ain't me, number one. And number two, I am a proponent of the Illuminati. I am the proponent of big corporations running this country because, you know what? All you people who are sleeping with this limited government bullshit, you know what? We need the corporation. You know what? If you really look at it, Total Recall was a good success. If you really look at that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Running Man was a great success. Just shut the fuck up, watch some TV, eat your broccoli smoothies, and sing Hungry Hippos. But anyway,
would you be drinking broccoli smoothies?
Whatever. You know, I'm just saying. That's what I'm just saying. Shut up about the government. Let them do what they're doing, and we're going to be so fine. But anyway, we're not talking about political conspiracies here. But we are going to be talking about a real conspiracy, TW. And this is going to be one of the hardest but most popular series that we do. But what the hell see, I keep telling you those are Christmas lights, but you don't want to admit that. But anyway, I see red, I see green.
Dude, they're warrior colors. Look right here.
They're not warrior.
Red, green.
Yeah, that's Christmas. But anyway, this is Halloween season, but neither here nor there. Now you're almost, I lost my train of thought because I have to look to TW's Hall of Wonders. Anyway, before we start about this what if, this is a very special what if reflection. Again, we are in the Halloween season, TW. But the reason I'm calling this the hardest what if ever is because I don't think people in the nostalgic podcast realm can try this. I don't think people even in Twitterverse or in the Facebook wrestling pages can even try to book this right. So we are gonna try and do something that nobody even will attempt to do or scared to do. We're gonna do a very special what if reflection night, and this what if is, what if the Shockmaster, aka poor Uncle Fred Ottman, never busted his ass?
Typhoon. He's got other names.
We'll get into that, but anyway, if Shockmaster never busted his ass during his debut at the Clash of Champions. So TW, before we even get into this, before we put our wrestling minds into this, do you agree with the assessment? I guess the lights are blinking, so you agree with me. Neither here nor there, but I think you and I know that this is going to be the hardest what if that we will attempt to do, right? But we're the only two that can actually attempt to do this. What say you, TW?
Yep. And you know what? This is going to be a little different what if, because I got more questions of, like, my first thought is he fell through the wall, right? That probably wasn't planned. Sting and Davey Boy looked mortified when it happened. I believe it was live. Yeah, Clash of Champions.
Yes.
But my question is, when he came out with this fucking spray painted glitter stormtrooper helmet, calling himself the Shockmaster, he had a cape on, I think, and I don't even remember what he had on underneath that, like a wife beater and jeans or something.
He had like blue jeans. He had a weird robe. He had a stormtrooper mask on. And of course, the voice of the Shockmaster was Ole Anderson.
Yeah, like the Black Scorpion and everybody else. But here's my question.
What's the question?
Was he never ever going to show what was underneath it? Like he was just going to keep that robe on and the helmet on? Like we're supposed to think this is another Vader coming around? Because my very first thing is when he trips and falls and that helmet comes off, there's no way he was wrestling with that helmet on. So was it always planned for him to be unmasked and be Uncle Fred? Or was he going to be that and still call himself the Shockmaster when everyone knew he was Tugboat / Typhoon?
It's a very interesting question, and the way you're presenting it to the professor here, TW, no doubt about this. This is why we're going to do this what if, because I think now you actually went into a realm that I didn't even think about. But before we even try to answer these questions, we have to acknowledge everything that messed up in that particular thing. So again, from the stories that I've seen
And the story of Dusty Rhodes, because that's the most pertinent one that I remember vividly, because he said this on like a panel show with WWE. I remember this very vividly, TW. So we got to at least acknowledge this, right? That the Shockmaster's debut, the practice run of it before, you know, it went live, right, TW?
Right.
It went smoothly. He busted through a wall. He made his presence felt, and everybody felt happy with the way the practice run went through it. Now, Dusty Rhodes put a little humor into his story. So again, I don't know this, but this is from Dusty Rhodes, daddy. But Dusty Rhodes has, why you put your finger up there?
That's Dusty.
Oh, okay. I'm like, why are you putting your finger? But anyway, neither here nor there. See, I get distracted on the videos, Reflection Nights, but neither here nor there. But that's the beauty of people seeing this. If 8-Track Brown, the dirtiest of the city, gets off his slow ass and uploads the videos.
He's too busy telling me one day that he never called Jay Green, and then the very next day calling her Green.
Again, neither here nor there. But
he's busy. Leave him alone.
He's busy. But anyway, neither here nor there. But Dusty Rhodes' story from the panel show that I vividly remember, TW, said that he might have put a little humor into this, but he had a conspirator. He named his conspirator that messed up the Shockmaster's debut, and that was David Crockett. David Crockett authorized a 2x4 board to be mounted on the bottom part of the wall. So, in essence, when the debut happened, TW, Shockmaster, aka Uncle Fred, poor Uncle Fred. I just love when Dusty Rhodes says poor Uncle Fred. But anyway, the 2x4 was not there for Uncle Fred. He did not know about this. He just remembered from the practice run what to do, how to bust through the wall. No one told him. No stagehands told him. No studio assistants told him about this 2x4. And David Crockett didn't tell him. He didn't tell Tugboat, Uncle Fred, and he didn't tell Dusty, because if he told Dusty, I think Dusty would have warned him. Step over with your foot. This way you don't bust your ass. But anyway, neither here nor there. So he doesn't know anything. Uncle Fred goes into this blind. He just goes in remembering what he did on the practice run, Reflection Nights. So when the bomb hits and he goes through the wall, you see that he lost his footing, hence where he busted his ass and drops to his face on the floor. Now we can talk about everything in the background, because I remember this vividly too. Because again, I'm in. This is '93. I'm a teenager here. This was funny shit. But you could hear Davey Boy say he busted his ass. You can hear Sid Vicious being pissed off that he busted his ass. You could hear a crackling laugh from Ole Anderson on the mic because he didn't expect it was going to happen. And of course, Dusty Rhodes is in gorilla position. He had to take his headset off to laugh his ass off. So poor Uncle Fred is trying to rebound this, this box, TW. His helmet falls off. So now you got more visual funniness. The helmet falls off. He knows he's trying to look for the camera because he doesn't want his face to be seen. So he does two things. He tries to do this, and he tries to grab for the helmet to protect his face and, anonymity, right? So he can put the helmet off. So now they try to go through the skit like nothing ever happened. So Ole Anderson, regains a little bit of composure. He goes through his motions. He goes through his spiel. And you can see that there's a problem with choreography, because while Ole is speaking, Fred is pissed. Uncle Fred is pissed because you could tell he has the mask on, but he's trying to do his cues. He can't follow the cues of Ole Anderson, because it's like if Ole is saying something, he's pointing, and then he's like this. He's like, "Oh, what am I going to do? I can't remember everything." And then when the laugh hit, he had like a second delay. Like Ole Anderson went ha 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 ha, but then you see the Shockmaster wait for like a second or two. So when he's going ha ha ha, he's like motionless. Then he's going like a laugh. So I'm giving you the logistics here, TW, about everything. So
I am going to watch this immediately when we're done here. I don't even remember any of this, right? Like I think it's clear it wasn't on purpose that he fell.
Mm-hmm.
B, I'm probably going to piss myself watching this, because if I didn't even catch all that stuff back then, I was 20 or almost 20 when that happened, and wrestling. No. I started training in the end of '93. But it still begs the question, was he ever supposed to be serious? And if he was, doesn't it come across like they're like, hey, man, what should we do here? We're going live in a couple minutes. And then they went, here, grab this helmet and this cape, and we'll just build something off of it down the road. But tonight, this is what you're going to wear. Because there's no way that was the end look for when he actually got out there and wrestled.
Again, it's a hard question to answer because, again, this was supposed to be the mystery partner of Sting, British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and Dustin Rhodes to go into War Games. So Fred Ottman, Uncle Fred, poor Uncle Fred, was coming into this with a rocket ship booster up his ass. So he's being like force fed into the main event scene, TW. So he has to be taken seriously. So now with the logistics out of the way, I'll try to answer your question maybe a little bit later. But now let's get into like TW. We have to now scale back the visuals. We got to get rid, because right now the reason that the only way this will work, Reflectionites, and again, like, this is the hardest what if that we're ever going to do. But again, I'm not afraid to try. But you Reflectionites, the Magnificent Seven, the Elite Eight, the Naughty Nine, the Terrific 10, you have got to erase, like Men in Black. You have got to erase the memory, and you too, TW, you got to erase the memory of the Shockmaster. You got to erase the memory of the Stormtrooper mask. You got to erase the memory of the horrible robe and the blue jeans and all this stuff, TW. So let's remember Fred Ottman for what he was before that. You remember him as Tugboat Thomas in 1990. And he came in with a rocket ship up his butt too.
Hogan's best buddy.
He was Hogan's best buddy. The man that was, guiding all the Hulkamaniacs to send their love and their prayers for Hulk Hogan. And he was the ultimate cheerleader to get him back to fight the Earthquake, right? And then he gets a chance to branch out to become Typhoon with a very underrated tag team, untapped potential tag team, former tag team champions, the Natural Disasters. So TW, with that being said, now let's just go into the what ifs. Not about what you would have done here, but now you know that kind of hyperbole that I'm trying to say. In the sense of the presentation for the Shockmaster to make that booming debut for Clash of Champions, you have images from his WWF days. You could say you could cherry pick if you want to continue the Tugboat image, or like they did with saving, let's say, you remember Earthquake? John Tenta's he got a second run in WCW, but not Shark. He wasn't the Shark first. His first name in WCW was Avalanche. Yeah. So they made his debut at least, let's say, passable. But at least you could use, that's Earthquake. That was Earthquake from WWE. He became Avalanche. You could Which was awesome. Which was passable. The Shark and you could actually believable. Yeah. So I'm asking you, knowing that and knowing where I'm going with this, right? How would you have presented him in your lives? Would you have tried to accentuate the Tugboat gimmick, or would you have just changed the Natural Disaster gimmick? You can't call yourself Typhoon because that's trademarked by WWE, so you could call yourself maybe Tsunami or something, some other shit like that. What say you, TW, with that first kind of assessment? We're trying here. Again, reflections. We're not going to
Hurricane. You could have been the Hurricane before the Hurricane, but here's what I think. Here's my what if. If he doesn't blunder through the wall, right? Which, poor guy, it's obviously not his fault. It wasn't he was being a putz, which I didn't know about that 2x4 until today, right here, right now. I think 93 is when Shawn wrestled Vader in your house, or like somewhere around there.
That's 96. You're talking about Sting versus Vader.
So Vader is still in WCW in 93. Yeah. Okay. Because this is what it sounds like to me. The Shockmaster, the robe, the helmet. To me, it feels like they're making another Vader. I would assume with that helmet, the intent was he was going to have a mask when he finally did wrestle. Like, he'd take the helmet off and have a mask underneath it. They just didn't have it ready yet. Like I said, the whole thing feels like it's on the seat of their pants and just flying by. But once he fell, once everyone laughed, for whatever reason, their go-to move was it was all a rib, and it was all meant to be fun and games all along, and he became a comedy act and just dead in the water, right?
Okay.
But to go back, I would like to say this about the guy. I didn't give a shit about Typhoon. I'm sorry, Tugboat. By the time he's Tugboat, I'm a little older. I'm into the cool bad guys. I'm into the bad guys way more than I'm into the good guys. And he was hokey to me. However, the second he turns on Hogan and becomes Typhoon, to me, it's one of the all-time greatest.
Can I correct you for a second? He didn't betray Hogan. He betrayed the Bushwhackers. He never associated with Hogan after that.
He was Hogan's buddy. Well, Hogan's probably gone by 93. Hogan's dead. I don't know when he became Typhoon, but
91.
My point is, I think it's one of the greatest. It's up there with Crush becoming what the hell would they call it? Wrath with Atom Bomb. Atom Bomb and Crush were a tag team.
Chronic.
What was his name? Wrath and
Brian Adams.
Oh, he didn't have a gimmick name?
No.
Oh, it's Brian Clark and Brian Adams. That's right.
Yeah.
Brian Clark was Wrath, and then he became just Brian Clark.
Mm-hmm.
That, especially like Crush and Demolition, great way to start. Everything after that was just garbage, right? The cartoon Crush, Kona Crush, the fucking Street Gang, prison ex-con Crush. And then when he goes to WCW, a lot of times when guys go to WCW and get reinvented, it's garbage, Beefcake, Uncle Fred. It's just you never get the lightning in the bottle again. Brian Clark was one who did, and Brian Adams. But Tugboat becoming Typhoon to me made him instantly credible. Like I was afraid. I obviously wasn't afraid of him, but you know what I mean. I was like,
but you could take Typhoon seriously more than
as a threat.
Tugboat. Yeah.
Whereas Tugboat was he was Hillbilly Jim in a fucking Cracker Jack suit, right? So I wasn't into it. I really wasn't ever into Hillbilly Jim. I liked him because I was supposed to, but I was never running around with no Hillbilly Jim merch. Typhoon and Earthquake. For whatever reason, I never liked him. He was garbage until he became Earthquake and Typhoon, the Natural Disasters, where they had that red, white, and black kind of gear that matched and everything. That's when he became like, oh, these guys are they're actually pretty cool. You said it best. Very underrated tag team. Was it Demolition that beat them for the belts?
No, I think it was Money Inc.
Money Inc. And who did they win the belts from? Strike Force? No, Demolition did that.
The Road Warriors. Your history is way off.
Oh, well, bro, I was wrestling by then. No, it wasn't. Not 91. But anyway, my point is, I think if he doesn't go through that wall, he's not the laughingstock. I think if they did go with a Vader-like character and he took the helmet off and had some kind of mask underneath it, because I think by this point, Shark and Avalanche have been there for a while, right? He went there first. He came after?
No, he came before that.
That's right. No. Avalanche came after Uncle Fred?
Yeah.
I really fucking got my shit out. But
I know that.
But I don't think they were trying to capitalize on it. But the just man, what if someone better was booking WCW? You just said it's Ole. It has to be Ole's doing or Kevin Sullivan's. This whole thing is so Oz. It's so Fortress of Fear.
Dusty took credit for the Shockmaster debut, so this was.
But if he was trying to make him Vader, like it's good. If it was Dusty who changed directions and made it a comedy, it was just a fail. It's an epic
if we go with what you're saying about trying to recreate the Japanese persona of Vader, because you're talking about the mask that blows like smoke out of his head, and he had the shoulder pads that's below smoke there. That was intriguing. Number one. Vader kind of stopped doing that. So if you wanted to recreate that, then you totally had to get rid of the Stormtrooper thing.
I can't believe they got allowed to use that.
You had to give, first of all, you had to get rid of that so this way I could take you seriously. So if you was going to go with the Japanese moniker, if you wanted to try to create a different thing, you could. I mean, WCW had a budget to kind of recreate that. But then I
still think that shit was laying around in the back and they're like, just throw this on.
Well, probably that, but I think if you want to recreate that Vader image from Japan, you really have to like talk to Vader, right? Get some pointers from Vader. Say, what kind of like mythical legend from Japan that could do something like that and give you.
Who were the opponents in the War Game? Obviously, Sid and Vader. I'm an idiot. Vader was the other reason that
Sid, Vader, and Harlem Heat. That was
Harlem Heat was in on that?
Yeah, Harlem Heat was in on that too.
I must have really stopped watching WCW, man. I remember that shit happening. I just don't remember the matches. Match wasn't that night, was it?
No, it was a fall brawl. It was
wasn't a Flair for the gold when he came out, or one of them like talk shows.
Yeah, it was a Flair for the gold. At least you got you got half of it. But anyway, you know that. But let me go back to what I was trying to say with at least one scenario that we could try to rebook Reflection Nights. If you was going to give a presentation with a mask, you should have talked with Vader, right? You should have talked with Vader with the way he had his mask being like decorated and built for him. I'm not saying to make it a carbon copy, but at least let Vader and Fred Ottman at least kind of have a powwow, TW, to say, what kind of mask can I make, very intimidating? What kind of mask because all in all, it's to get Vader to at least not be afraid of somebody, but to say, oh shit, he's my size. He can take me.
He was an equalizer.
Why would I be afraid of a guy in a stormtrooper mask when it should be more and a cape, when it should be more of an intimidating mask where Vader can not be totally afraid to that, but you get what I'm saying? Just take a step back and kind of regroup with Harley Race and all that stuff. What say you about that assessment? A different kind of mask, a different kind of presentation.
He should have, I think it was to bring in someone who was an intimidator. I think long term, I think it would have been for him to turn. Obviously, that's a better bad guy than a good guy if you're going to have him like that. And that helmet, the Vader, I used to call him the Juggernaut because he reminded me of Juggernaut from the comic books. That motherfucking thing he wore, it looked like Ram Man's helmet on the Road Warrior spikes, and it looked like it weighed 150 pounds. And it was sometimes he would carry it out with one hand like a puppet. And I just remember the first time I saw Vader, I thought, holy shit, man, this guy's and I think I'd read about him in the magazine, so I was like, this guy's badass. But again, call me a body shamer, he was never going to be anybody I was into, even though he looked cool. Just those big dudes like that. Never. I mean, even Stan Hansen, who had a pretty good build, he just was giant, like beer gut, that kind of stuff. But he still was had that look. But I just wasn't into that stuff. I guess I was more into the pretty boys like you and the DMs. But I like guys that look like they take your girlfriend, not the guys who would slap your girlfriend to take you. So, but the second I saw that helmet and cape, I was like, what the fuck? And then he fell. And then you're just like, what?
Well, Vader never fell when you're talking about
Vader. Shockmaster.
Oh, okay.
Which I love the name. And I felt like it was Shock Trooper. That's kind of what he's coming out like. You can't call him Stormtrooper. You can't call him Shock Trooper. I don't even know if Shock Troopers were out yet. They could have been in the cartoons, but I don't even know how they got away with bringing that helmet on camera, other than they spray painted it silver glitter. Because you do know, a little fun fact for you, on Halloween, you mentioned October being Halloween month. You do know who Michael Myers is, right? The mask.
I think it's Captain Kirk's head.
Inside Out.
Yeah.
Like an inside out Captain Kirk mask. That's why it's white. And because they couldn't put the actual Captain Kirk mask on, right? I never noticed it. Now you can't unsee it. You look at it. And ironically enough, it looks to me like Chris Pine, who's Captain Kirk in the prequels. So, but that mask looks like him. But the whole, it's like I said, it was destined to fail. It's almost like karma made him trip through that fucking wall.
I get you what you're saying. Destined to fail. I understand that, but we're trying to save poor Uncle Fred. We gotta save him.
But I'm saying,
our mission to save
if you don't
Uncle
have that
Fred.
fucking helmet and cape on, if you actually took time to produce this segment, it's even more disappointing to know they practiced this shit first and didn't think, yeah, the whole fucking Stormtrooper helmet and the Snuggie kind of looks weird. Let's wait. Let's get him a cooler outfit and then do it. Do you remember when Giant Gonzalez came?
Yeah, and he had the fur.
They had that it was the night that Sting got hurt climbing the thing and busted his patella on the side of the cage. After that, on 2020, Connie Chung did a story on WCW.
Oh, you're talking about the gold, the gray shit that he looked like a
they showed that they were making him like a Roman warrior, but a giant. and they had different concepts. And it was, I can't, Sub-Zero, maybe was Glacier around the same time as Giant Gonzalez?
No.
What was Giant Gonzalez's name there?
Elegante.
So, but they had different sketches because there was two guys they showed. They showed El Gigante and they showed another guy. But look at all the effort they put into that guy. They even had an expose on him before kayfabe was dead. And then this dude comes out in the Stormtrooper helmet and the cape.
It was a big investment for Elegante. But, you know, you and I agree to a degree that the presentation with the mask is one thing. It had to be changed. It had to be original. And again, a powwow with Vader, you had to at least have it with him. Not that, and you said something very interesting because you said Ram Man, what was it, Juggernaut from the Spider-Man comics?
Yeah.
That would have worked if you put him there and then kind of like, you know, again, we understand the logistics and the copyright infringement things. Marvel would have sued. And by the way, Reflectionites, for the videos, I'm shining bright like a diamond again, but you know, God loves me. God is trying to bless this what if, and then need to hear know that. But you know, again, the Juggernaut thing, because I'm now looking at it visually, if you put the Juggernaut, you would still see Uncle Fred's face a little bit. But I don't care because he has that mullet in the back, kind of helps it a little bit. You could give him the Elegante kind of gear, but then change it. If the helmet is black, what color would you want the helmet? Black? Brown?
I like silver. I like the silver.
No, that'd be more ridiculous. I think it would have to be black and very serious.
Yeah, and they should have. I mean, this
maybe
is
with some maybe black with silver linings, but then the bodysuit has got the cover too. So this way I can look at it and like, okay, you're giving Uncle Fred a good, serious look. And again, Reflectionites, it goes to my booking because again, I'm trying to save Uncle Fred a little bit. This is not like
we're
5 years.
Shockmaster. We're not saving Uncle Fred.
No, we're saving both. We're saving Uncle Fred first. First and foremost, we're saving Uncle Fred. We're saving Uncle Fred's career for WCW because it didn't last but more than maybe about 3 to 6 months tops. But anyway, neither here nor there. But I like what you're saying with the Juggernaut thing because I think the helmet's there. You see his face a little bit. He's got already the mullet. So again, you know, it is what it is. And I think a black with maybe gray silver linings just to put it over, it might look ridiculous and hokey, Reflectionites, don't get me wrong, but at least it would fit his body type. Again, he would have an identifiable
and it wouldn't
thing.
fall off.
It wouldn't, and it wouldn't fall off. His helmet would actually have been pressed in there. It would have been. Now, if he fell on his face as a Juggernaut, then I can't take you serious. But again, he comes through the wall as the Juggernaut because again, Juggernaut in the comics.
Oh, you know what? He didn't have a cape. I'm picturing cut. He had that fucking black fur, fucking
no, it's
armless.
A fur, but we're not. But again, we're giving the new look. The new look.
No. I'm saying I've been picturing him with the cape. It was that black fur, like Fred Flintstone fucking shirt.
Whatever. But let's just go with let's say the black Juggernaut with the silver lining helmet. Maybe a body, not a bodysuit, but like a body covering, just like the Juggernaut had. So this way he looks a little bit more serious when he busts through the wall. Because again, it reminds me of the Spider-Man comics TW of the Juggernaut. He busts through walls and all that shit. So he looks intimidating. He looks devastating. All that stuff. So that's one kind of scenario. Here's another way to save Uncle Fred, and I think it's kind of weird because again, it goes with it's black fur. That's why it just doesn't fit because it just looks like it's low rent. It's like no effort.
2 black life jackets.
Right.
Like
so
either arm.
We got one scenario reflection, so I feel a little bit comfortable with that. But now we're going to change it again because there's another scenario too. TW. Now, I don't like you've always said with WWE, you know, having all these writers and how Vince McMahon micromanages a lot of shit. Yes, I get that. We got the Stormtrooper helmet, we got the black fur, but stay with me, TW, because you're multitasking.
I'm showing him falling through the fucking wall. I don't know where to picture.
No, I know that, but sometimes you're multitasking, you forget what I'm going to say, and then you're going to ask me to repeat the question. So, again, here's the problem with, remember how you say that Vince McMahon and there's WWE writers, they micromanage and remind you to, like, say certain things and get certain things out, and in WCW, NWA with Dusty Rhodes days, they give you a bullet point, and sometimes you just ad-lib off the top of your head. I tend to, if Shockmaster was supposed to be the name, and Sting and Davey Boy was going to say this mystery partner is going to shock the world, right? You know, that's a bullet point that sucks. That's a line. That's a writer that should be fired. Or Dusty Rhodes. That's a cheesy line. Even Vince McMahon would not have said that. Now, if you ad-lib the name Shockmaster and shock the world, then I would blame Sting and Davey Boy Smith, but I have to blame Dusty Rhodes. I have to blame, him trying to remind people that the name Shockmaster sucks. So you're already giving Uncle Fred already a minus with the name. I'm not too keen on the Shockmaster name. Are you keen on the Shockmaster name, or from what
I like the Shockmaster name.
I did not like the Shockmaster name. I think it put too much emphasis on the person coming out, because then you put Uncle Fred at a disadvantage, because again, we're at the age, TW, where the Wrestling Observer is gaining traction. People are getting a little bit hip to the business, and you and I see both WCW and WWE television, right, TW? So if I know the body type and I know that's Typhoon, right? That and Sting and Davey Boy is saying shock the world. Uncle Fred is not shocking the world, TW. Uncle Fred is not going to put asses in seats. No disrespect to Uncle Fred, Reflectionites, but he's not main event material right there. So I think the name just kind of sucks there. So if you ad-lib TW, that's why I said if you're going to go with the Typhoon thing, this is where it works for me. If you have the Typhoon look, right, TW? You change his name to Tsunami. You change his name to Hurricane. You change his name to Tornado.
Avalanche.
Something like that.
You could have used Avalanche.
You could have. Well, you could have used the Avalanche. Yeah, I'll go with that too. But at least then, and this is where it goes with me. He has the bodysuit that you could put. It's easy stuff. It's easy trademarkable, and all that stuff. Number two, I wouldn't have him bust through the wall. I would have him come through the back, where the open setting is, where he's just coming in with maybe Fifi and stuff like that. At least then it's something simple. He could look intimidating, and Sid could look to his right instead of look straight at the wall. He'd be like, oh, who is this guy? Who's this coming in? And then you protect Uncle Fred and let him speak if you want him to speak. But you should let him speak, because he has a great graspy voice that he can actually talk on his own and all this bullshit and all that stuff. So it kind of saves him a little bit, that at least if you call him Typhoon, not Typhoon, if you call him Tsunami, Avalanche, Hurricane, all that stuff, oh shit, a natural disaster is coming. So what say you, TW, about that? Not bust through the wall. You saw the flare for the gold set, so you could actually come around. There's an opening in the back. Come with the girls or whatever. Ric Flair could play along with this. He could save it too. You have people that could save this shit. Ric Flair has Fifi and the girls bring him in and all that stuff. It's more passable to me. What say you, TW, about that scenario?
I understand what you're saying about Shockmaster and Shock the World. I don't. That's not how I view the name. I just think Shockmaster is like badass.
But that's what they said, right. And that's what
they set him up with the line. I don't think the name was bad. I just think the way they got cheesy with it ruined the name, right? But I promise you, Fred himself and every other person in the locker room or aspiring to be a pro wrestler or someone who already is would choose the name Shockmaster over Uncle Fred 100 out of 100 times.
Well, they ain't call him Uncle. That was the boys in the back. That was Dusty. That's what his name was backstage. Okay, I'm just saying Uncle Fred because we giving love to Uncle Fred.
I think calling him the Shockmaster, saying he's going to shock the world, having him bust through the wall, and then again, through fate, through karma, call it what you want. When his helmet came off and everyone saw him, and everyone that knew who he was knew him, was not shocked at all. No, he didn't. And then I bet you there were people there who had no idea who he was, who don't watch WWE because they're strictly Southern wrestling people.
No, I disagree. I think we were all in that.
No, we do on TV. Both. I meant in the building.
I would say in the building too. Whether they would reciprocate that love or affection
or care. Right.
Or care. That's different. But they knew who he was.
But I'm saying there's some kids in that audience. There's some old people in that audience who only watch WCW who would have had no clue who that guy was. As a matter of fact, a couple of them bumpkins probably been like, is that the guy that just did my oil change? He right down the street.
But I understand where you're going with this. But I'm giving you an idea of the alternate. Again, I'm giving you the different names. But I say coming through
would have
this
been
way.
better.
Right.
Just to have him walk out and be. It almost feels like, forget Van Vader. It was like he was Vader. He was supposed to be come out there intimidating, like he's pointing at people, he's talking. Like, it almost would have been better for him not to talk and for him to have had someone walk out with him to do the talking for him. But again, the presentation, that fucking helmet, that fur sleeveless thing, it was supposed to be badass, but it wasn't. And what if they would have gave him 15 minutes at least to come up with an outfit that wasn't just two things laying in the back on a crate? It would have been so cool. And then have Ric Flair be like, whoa, who's this big dude? Because he was a big guy, but he didn't look like he sat around eating all day. He looked like he was like a power lifter, not who, by the way, sat around eating, but he at least had been inside of a gym. So the guy had like a Ted Arcidi, where are they now body? Like, I don't just power lift anymore. I eat too. But he had an intimidating look.
Remember, if you didn't remember this, Dusty Rhodes had high regards for Uncle Fred because Uncle Fred was his biggest opponent in championship wrestling from Florida in 1989 before Dusty Rhodes and defeated Dusty Rhodes for the championship from Wrestling Florida heavyweight championship. With Dusty Rhodes trying to like reinvigorate that territory again. But again, money problems. I don't want to get into that logistics. But Dusty Rhodes has an affinity for Uncle Fred for a reason. That's why he put him into this position here. So again, I know you're talking about the mask. I'm just giving you my suggestion that what would your suggestion be instead of the thing? That's why I'm saying my suggestion is the tsunami, the avalanche, the hurricane coming through the different way. What would be your first way of trying to, change the package of Uncle Fred in TW's
First and foremost, I wouldn't have had him come out on a flare for the gold. I would have had Sting and Davey Boy getting their ass whooped by Sid, Harlem Heat, and Vader, and I would have had him come out and make the save. Maybe even Dustin's out there.
They didn't do that. Dustin wasn't there. It was just Sting and Bulldog at that time.
In my scenario, Dustin, Sting, and Davey Boy are outnumbered 4-1. Plus, isn't Robert Parker with Vader, or somebody's with Vader back then?
Robert Parker, I think they were trying to do he was with Sid, and then Harley was with Vader.
Okay, so do you have Robert Parker? All of them just outnumber him, and then you have this big dude come out. And you know what? At this point, don't put a mask on him. Let people know, because here's the other thing. Dusty likes him, but he comes with the Hulk Hogan seal of approval. Even though he's a heel when he's leaving WCW or WWE, he still is Hulk Hogan's guy. So there's some credibility there that, they could say that's Hulk's best friend or whatever. I don't know if they'd say Hulk back then because he wasn't there yet. But
Sting was Hulk Hogan, so that would have been his kind of best friend coming in to save the day. So there is some kind of correlation with the Hulk Hogan factor with the Sting.
But I wouldn't have done it on the fucking Johnny Carson knockoff show. But that too.
Oh, you know what? You would do the flare for the gold reflection. This is the way I would do it. You do the flare for the gold in the ring.
Yeah.
Where, then you have like a War Games preview. And of course, it'd be 4-on-2, as TW would be saying. And again, Flair's trying to be the mediator, saying, let's not fight with each other. Let's keep talking. Let's keep it civil and all that stuff. He's trying to do his best to keep it civil. But again, talking and jabbing back and forth and all that shit. And Uncle Fred comes through the curtain where it should be natural and all that stuff. He wouldn't fall. Hopefully, he wouldn't bust his ass, Reflection Ice, running to the ring. So we're trying to give you that savior right there. But it would work in that instance, TW, that he would come in from the ringside. So that's actually way better than, maybe just coming through the back. So I'll give you with that right there. So what's say with that? Put it in the ring. Or what? Mm-hmm.
You have Davey Boy, Sting, and Dustin in there, and they're struggling to find a partner. They don't even know who their partner's going to be. And maybe Fred's in the audience the whole night, and they keep panning, showing him, randomly, not bringing attention, just he's on camera. And then when the four of them beat up the three of them, maybe he hops the rail, gets in the ring, and evens up the odds, and becomes the fourth
you
guy.
Well, you've always said they kind of recreate certain things. You want to recreate the Hillbilly Jim angle where he comes out from the crowd.
I didn't even know that's how he got there, but that's perfect.
Yeah, Hillbilly Jim was quote unquote a fan of Hulk Hogan who came over the railing as a fan and helped Hulk Hogan against Stud and Bundy, if I remember correctly. So if you recreate that wheel, I would go with that. But then he would have to be in his like overalls. He would have to be that truck driver, construction worker.
Come out in jeans and a fucking sweater vest.
Not with that first shit on, because it would make no sense. So you have to have some kind of overalls or look like a truck
dressing
driver
like Scotty Riggs, black denim jeans, boots, and a leather vest. Straight out of your DMs.
No, with a bow tie and no shirt.
Yeah.
You know, he could just sit like that.
Drinking wine.
You know what? Again, the fan aspect actually I think would work better for Uncle Fred, because then, like you said, he wouldn't talk, he would save the day, and then you could have Doug Dillinger, head of security, try to stop him. Well, try to hold him down, but then he shows off, let's say, his anger. He shows off his hot temperness. So you can plant the seeds of the heel turn, like I'm going to try to explain, Reflectionites. But you plant that kind of seed that he's very you can't control him. But only Sting and maybe Davey Boy and Dustin Rhodes can control him to a certain degree, and kind of like giving him the seal of approval. Like, he helped save my ass from getting jumped, right, TW? So we could do that. So what say you about that scenario? Because
you could have him go to commercial after he gets in the ring and play it off like it is a fan, and like, we'll be back. And then when it comes back, sorry guys, we cleared that away. And then when they try to move on, they go, hold on, there's something going on in the back. And it could be him. They're trying to throw him out, and Sting and Dustin and Davey Boy come in and go, no, leave him alone. We want him. And then someone could say, that's blah, blah, blah. Whatever his name was in Florida Championship Wrestling. Just call him that. Just say, that's blah, blah, blah from Florida Championship Wrestling.
His name in Florida Championship Wrestling was Big Steel Man, if I remember correctly. But again,
might be worse than Uncle Fred.
Man, you're a hard man to please, man. You're a hard man to convince here. But
just call him Big Steel. Shit, that's better. That's better than Big Steel Man.
Okay, well, Big Steel works. You know, again, you got to trademark a name. So, Big Steel Man. Uncle Fred owns Big Steel Man, but then Big Steel is WCW trademark IP property. So again, we're trying to save Uncle Fred here with this scenario. So the reason I say what I said, TW, about him being uncontrollable to a degree is where I'm going with this. With him successfully saving Team Sting and Davey Boy and Dustin Rhodes to get to the War Games, TW, because now we got to at least push it out. We already did the debut. But here's my payoff to a degree. We know that his look, right, TW, he can't be a good guy. It'd be like the Hillbilly Jim factor, because you're 6'10". Well, Hillbilly is 6'10", but he was not intimidating. He was not a badass. He just looked too. He's like a liberal, Reflectionites. He's just too pussified. That's why you need the conservatives, the warmongering conservatives, to protect you. Again, it's true. I'm not mistaking that. So with Uncle Fred looking like a badass in our scenario, now here's where I'm using my the tsunami and typhoon and hurricane thing. So TW, we work our way into the War Games. With all the promos leading up to War Games, there probably would be like maybe 2 or 3 Saturday nights main events, right? So you're gonna have to do a promo to show maybe Uncle Fred's uncontrollable rage to a degree, because with your scenario, he raged out to save them, but again, you push out the security, you push out the referees. So in essence, only the good guys like Sting and Davey Boy can control him to a degree. Now you get into uncontrollable, you get into that environment of War Games. This is where it comes to me. The only way it would work for Uncle Fred to at least give him maybe a year run, or maybe a 9-month run, and a program with either Sting or, well, Davey Boy kind of leaves a little bit later. So I guess it would go with Sting and Dustin Rhodes. So the only way it would work with the tsunami and the hurricane or the avalanche, he would be the first avalanche, would be when he gets into the War Games. It's a ruse. It was a plan by Robert Parker. It was a plan by Harley Race. He comes in, he'd be the cleaner, right? He'd be the fourth man in to, get the get the fans going, riled up. But then he comes and decimates. Well, the easiest person to decimate would be Dustin Rhodes, because he could take an ass whipping and then you feel sympathy more towards him, or you could take the sympathy towards Sting because he is your hero. But Colonel Rob Parker pays him. It was all a ruse, and now you got another guy another antagonizer to go after Sting and Dustin Rhodes and your favorite baby faces. And you could work into Starrcade, and you could work into maybe, Super Bowl of 94. Maybe again, give Fred maybe a year run before Hulk Hogan comes in and all that stuff. So what say you, TW? Because that's the only scenario that would protect Fred from his debut without falling, to give him purpose into War Games, and then you can do whatever after that. What say you, TW? Or do you have a different scenario?
I like the way you worded that makes it even better for him to come out of the audience and then have Sting and Vader, or Sting and Bulldog and Dustin go, no, we want him. Hey man, are you willing to wrestle? We want you to be our fourth. And then he joins that way. They don't press charges. Someone says, we'll pay your fine for getting in the ring. That way you tell these idiots not to jump in the ring, because they're going to think that you jump in the ring, they're going to be the new partner. So you gotta sell that he's still in trouble, but they're going to pay the fine for him. And then and that's perfect for him to be the fourth guy in, because it looks like he's dying to get his hands on him. They're dying for him to get in there because they want revenge for him coming in there and saving Sting and Bulldog. And then as soon as he gets in there, he just whoops everybody on his team. And you could have done the finger poke of doom there and have him pinned for that the other team wins. Like, make some stakes involved, and then him either get put in a arm bar and goes, I quit, just to make people even angrier that they officially lost the match because this guy just tapped out, and now Sting and Davey Boy and Dustin are suspended for 30 days or whatever.
You mean on the shelf? You mean on the shelf for 30 days because Uncle Fred decimates them in the cage. That way it would work. And I wouldn't put Uncle Fred to take an arm bar or a headlock and say, I give up. I would just, again, Dustin Rhodes would be the perfect taxi to, be decimated. You put a Boston Crab on them.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you make it high stakes, like nobody wants to lose this match, and then Uncle Fred goes in there and they're like, oh, we're going to win it now. And then he, like the screw job. I don't do something simple that isn't painful, and he taps out, and now the bad guys have control of WCW or control of Davey Boy, Sting, and Dustin's career.
Oh, okay. So you're trying to want to add stakes into this war game,
and then none of those three guys take the loss.
I don't remember them adding stakes to this.
No, I'm saying I would add stakes to it.
Okay.
And then those three guys don't take the loss, which makes it more infuriating to the fans, because Sting, Davey Boy, and Dustin didn't quit. They didn't get pinned. Uncle Fred went, oh, I quit, and they officially lose. And now there's stakes. And then you have a rematch where they win their shit back, and they have a better fourth partner, Earthquake.
Okay. Yours is one thing. The thing is, I want it to be a present. I think you and I have different goals to get to Starrcade. I understand with your stakes. I would add the stakes with it, but I wouldn't want Uncle Fred to decimate all of them. And
he can still decimate them all. And as soon as he's done beating them, he gets put in an armbar and taps out. It saves Sting.
Who you want to put the armbar on him? Vader?
Fucking Sid. I don't care. Vader. Have Colonel Robert Parker put him in a full Nelson, and he goes, I quit.
Well, I think
it absolutely unbelievable that he quit, and know that it was on purpose, and they had to plant the mole.
No, the reason I'm asking for this is, do you want him to decimate them first?
Yes. Yes.
Because then I'd rather him tap out first, then look despondent, look bewildered. Yep. Then he decimates them and make it a 5-on-3. See, you and I, we're right there. It's like Republicans and Democrats.
I don't want Sting, Bulldog, or Dustin to take the loss. They're going to lose as a team.
I totally understand.
You could do the finger pointing. Like, he could get in there and face off with Vader. And as soon as Vader puts him in you got to build some heat up, and that's why he comes in hot. And as soon as they do one thing to him, he taps out, and everyone's like, huh? And then he turns, and then they beat the shit out of the other three guys. And that's how you're tipped off to, He was a plant.
No, that's what I'm saying, because
And now he's instantly the most hated guy there.
That's what I mean. But I'm just saying that we want the same outcome to get to Starrcade for a reason. I'm just saying that the finger poke of doom could work. I just want Sting, Bulldog, and Dustin to be like pissed off or bewildered or shocked first. Then Uncle Fred gives him that typhoon smile like he has. He has that demented smile and look, and then he beats the shit out of him along with Vader, along with Sid Vicious, along with Harlem Heat, and then heels go over strong. That's the way it would work, Reflectionize, because then we save Uncle Fred again for a couple of months. That's the way it would work. I can only book this for a year, Reflectionize. I can't save Uncle Fred's career, but I think Uncle Fred would take this because the end result of doing the heel turn at War Games, Reflectionize, if he didn't bust his ass, is he would have got not a main event spot, but he would have got one of the top billings of Starrcade 93, probably against Sting, or Bulldog didn't because he kind of had ins and outs with WCW at that time. So I'm trying to, let's just say Bulldog was on, had a good business relationship with WCW until Starrcade. That's the only way it would work. So at least you could add a Bulldog versus Uncle Fred in a highly contested, match for no reason, to get, so the Bulldog could go over strong and get his revenge. You know what I'm saying, TW? Yeah. So how would you book Uncle Fred? I guess what would you have? What would your payoff would be for Uncle Fred? I know you want the heroes to get their payoff. What would be the payoff for Uncle Fred to have the high main event caliber? What event would? How long would you book Uncle Fred's, let's say, momentum until the payoff for the heroes?
Well, whatever the stakes are, it's either got to be those three guys can't challenge for titles for 6 months, or something that they got taken away. And you got to make it sound like, don't say ever, because that's, stupid, because we all know eventually you're going to get a title shot. But if you make it 1 year, but then you build it up, and then finally Starrcade is Sting versus Uncle Fred. And if Sting wins, he gets all their title opportunities back. If he loses, he's gone, gone, not whatever. And then he wins it back. But you do,
or I understand the title thing, but maybe career versus career might have made more sense. My career.
If you're writing him off, but I thought we were trying to make him a viable heel for when Sting's champion.
I'm trying. Yeah, but again, the title thing, it would be kind of weird. It
doesn't have to be title. It could be fucking. One of my favorite things ever is Jimmy Garvin working on the fucking Von Erich Ranch because he lost. That shit was gold. Have a babyface version of that. Uncle Fred owns a fucking crab shack, and Sting, Bulldog, and Dustin are waiters there. I don't care.
Okay. Or Colonel Robert Parker probably has a farm or whatever.
Right.
And then the loser has to work the farm.
Right.
Or
dirty jobs.
I would say that because you and I kind of agreed that the person that would manage Uncle Fred or Typhoon or whatever you want, the Shockmaster Reflection would have been Colonel Robert Parker.
Right.
So the high stakes match for Sting against Shockmaster, Colonel Robert Parker would be everything you're saying. He would have to work Sting's house, or he had to drive Sting maybe in a limousine, or he had to clean the toilets or something like that.
Right.
Uncle Fred cannot pay.
But have all three and have different scenes with all three of them getting worked.
Okay.
And then, you know what it could be? Instead of career versus career, I don't know who was champion at the time.
Vader.
Okay. So Vader, he now he doesn't have to defend against none of those guys. But Sting versus Uncle Fred, if Sting loses, his career. If he beats Uncle Fred, he then gets a title shot at Vader on whatever fucking the next Super Brawl, yeah. And then there's high stakes for both of them, and everyone's afraid Sting's gonna lose his career, but he also gets them released from the farm duties, or whatever.
No, I'm just saying. Again,
I'm telling you, that Jimmy Garvin shit. I mean, 30, 40 years later, it is still absolutely hysterical to watch it.
It's hysterical, but again, Jimmy Garvin, you can believe Jimmy Garvin being the foil, being the antagonist, but also
Dustin would have been perfect for that.
No, but being the chicken shit heel that Jimmy Garvin was. Typhoon or Uncle Fred is not supposed to be a chicken shit heel. So that's why I'm saying that Colonel Robert Parker has got to take all the bullets for the punishment, if you will. That's why I said it's perfect.
Oh, you're saying you want Robert Parker had to be their limousine driver and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you can do that too for the.
It protects Uncle Fred, right? Think about it this way, TW. It protects Uncle Fred, and if you want to turn him, maybe, you know, if Uncle Fred, because Vader loses the title at Starrcade against Ric Flair. So let's just say with that high stakes scenario, right, TW? Uncle Fred can be born again, have redemption, because Robert Parker is pissed that Uncle Fred lost his match, right, against Sting. And he has to, he's doing all these manual labor shits. So then you can actually, and he fires Uncle Fred and all that stuff, or Vader or Sid Vicious beats the shit out of him, or Vader beats the shit out of him. So now Uncle Fred can be, it's kind of like that Southern wrestling story, kind of like sped up a little bit, where he has to fight off these people because you didn't do your job at Starrcade, so now you get a little bit of redemption. Maybe now people cheer for the Shockmaster to go up, Shockmaster against Sid Vicious, Shockmaster against Vader in a blood feud match into Super Bowl, and maybe work your way into Spring Stampede or Bash at the Beach. Now you give a little bit of staying power for Uncle Fred. Now you got another scenario. So what say you about that kind of scenario? Or you have a different way?
Well, if he comes in and he turns on Sting and Bulldog right off the rip, and then
we're living in the 90s where everything is microwavable. So that's
right.
What I'm thinking like that.
But I'm saying, if it's only 6 months later and then they're turning on him because he lost and now Robert Parks got, I don't think fans are gonna care. They're like, fuck you, buddy. That's what you get. That's your comeuppance. But if it's a year-long thing, then perfect. But I was looking for a way to work this in. But you mentioned Harley Race, so bam.
King Harley Race. Well, he didn't wear he should have took that robe. That's what Uncle Fred should have. That's the robe that Uncle Fred should have took. But anyway,
right. But that figure there is a greatest hit. They re-released it. The original figure, one of my Canadian buddies who houses his stuff here, paid a few $100s to get the first version of that, and now they recreated it so the value was went. Wah, 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 wah. But he opened stuff, so he wasn't planning on reselling it anyway. But I got it for $20. Actually, I got it for $9 because I used reward points. But anyway, back to the scenario. I think long term I like him as a heel because again I'm going back to Tugboat versus Typhoon. I absolutely thought Typhoon was badass. And again, not to body shame, but you took two guys, and I don't know if bashing Booger, but Earthquake had one of the worst builds I've ever seen in my life, whereas Typhoon looked like he used to power lift at least.
He did. He was a weightlifting, I think.
But that's what I mean. He looks like he sniffed the inside of a gym, whereas Earthquake did not. From all points I've ever heard, nothing but good things about John Tenta. People said he was a sweetheart of a human being. So I don't mean, but he had his lot in life. That look got him a wrestling career. So I'm not knocking it. It just wasn't something that would make me a fan. But yet the second he became Avalanche and Typhoon, the Natural Disasters, had the matching gear, I was close to cheering for those guys. I don't know that I would have cheered them to beat the Road Warriors because I'm a huge Road Warrior guy. But Typhoon is better to me than Tugboat. So bad guy him would be better than good guy him. You know what I think would be even better is he loses, maybe because Robert Parker botches a loaded purse or something, right? He loses. Parker's got to become the chauffeur, this lackey, whatever. But they turn on Parker, and now he becomes the Captain Lou Albano of WCW, the babyface tag team manager. Because I think Robert Parker, people were this close to cheering for that guy anyway. He was such a likable guy. I
don't know if he was likable. He was just funny looking because he looked like Colonel Robert, Colonel Sanders. But
people laughed at him like he was funny when he came out there. They loved when he bumped around. He was almost Bobby Heenan light, but just a big dude. And I think people would have loved him if he ever got turned babyface. As a matter of fact, when he was chasing Scary Sherry around with his crush on her, people were starting to have like George the Animal Steel chasing Elizabeth vibes for that guy. Like they were like, why her?
It was a funny skit. It was very funny skit and very funny stretch.
This big guy was all in on Scary Sherry, sidetracked by everything, cost his guys their matches. Just it was. I think, and then you keep Fred, and I hate that we keep calling him Uncle Fred. I'm gonna call him Adlad. Fuck it, I'm gonna call him Hurricane.
Well, call him Typhoon, like you want to call him. Call him Typhoon.
You can't call him Typhoon because that's copywritten.
It don't matter. I'm just saying we're using this
You know what
scenario.
they could have called him, and I bet you could get around this. The
What's that?
Disaster. You're not calling him
natural
disaster. Just call him the Disaster. And
well, if he fell and busted his ass, that would have been a disaster already. So that's already a bad thing.
Jim.
That's a bad omen. Well, you know what, Reflection? I think we did actually a very passable thing for Uncle Fred. I think we gave us a very good scenario. Me and TW agreed to a point where he comes in. So I want to put a bow on this. He comes in from the crowd, being a big fan, with a rage problem. So this way, and Sting and Davey Boy kind of saves him from being arrested and all that stuff, and he becomes the fourth partner that way. It's passable. And then, while in the War Games, me and TW have a little bit difference of opinion, but I kind of like TW's way where he looks at Vader, Vader looks at him, the fans are going to go crazy, the battle of the gargantuans are going to happen in the cage, but then Vader does something, a finger poker dude like this.
I'm telling you, an arm wringer, like a fucking...
Again, I want him to decimate them and then make Dustin Rhodes tap out. That's just me. But again, I'll go with TW stuff. He looks at him and then does the armbar, and then Uncle Fred taps out himself. Sting and Davey Boy and Dustin look bewildered. They look flustered, like, what are you doing, Fred? Well, they're not going to say Fred. And then he decimates them. So now we up the ante to Starrcade. We booked him better to Starrcade than WCW and Dusty Rhodes already did. So he's already got a heel run. He's already got a main event match at Starrcade against either Sting or Davey Boy Smith with some high stakes involved. So we got that scenario out there. So we gave Uncle Fred a good 6 months on TV for a reason, because the 6 months that he was on TV, the way they did it, being the bumbling idiot, just wasn't going to fly. It just had a shelf life of three weeks, in my opinion. But I want to end this on a different note, because now I want to change the what if to a different scenario. Because, again, you and I are picturing Uncle Fred, Typhoon, Hurricane, Avalanche, whatever you want to call it, Big Steel. But, TW, put your thinking cap on. This is your dream scenario. But be serious about it, please. See, now you're laughing. That's what I'm saying. Be serious about it, right? All right? Think about the landscape of 1993. The name is the Shockmaster, right? Sting and Davey Boy are saying this, and I don't care whichever way you want to do this. It doesn't matter. He could go through the wall and doesn't bust his ass, but it's not Uncle Fred. But the name Shockmaster is trademarked. What wrestler would represent in 1993 the best way to shock the world and be the fourth member in that scenario? It's not Uncle Fred.
Hogan, because he's not far away from coming there anyway. And if Hogan came out,
well, it's
this team with Sting and Bulldog against Vader and Sid, it would have shocked the world. 100%. And this is late in 93, right? So this is after he already lost to Yokozuna.
Fall Brawl is September, give or take, September of 1993. And Hogan, he was still under contract with WWE in August of 93. He was doing a European tour against Yokozuna, so it wouldn't have worked in that scenario. But I get what you're saying.
If you waited till he could work, I thought he was gone in July.
No. On TV, he was gone, but he was still doing European tours. He was honoring his dates with Yokozuna, and there's documents that he was doing European tours with Yokozuna in August of 1993. Hogan, but again, this is just more of a off the shoot. So in a perfect world, Hogan would have done the Luger thing. He would have like did his dates, then said "fuck you, Vince," and then made a debut at Clash of Champions that no one would have expected. That's what you want.
I got another one.
The Warrior?
Dynamite Kid. Come in a team with Bulldog, dude.
Yeah. Is that he's already skinny.
People would have been like, holy shit, Dynamite Kid in 93.
The British Bulldogs reunite. If you want to keep that history going. Okay, well, that's a nice.
Warrior would have been good, but Warrior wasn't 93 SummerSlam with Warrior and Savage.
92.
Oh, that was 92.
He was gone. He was already gone.
Oh, then Warrior would have been perfect. But Hogan would have been the shocking the world. Warrior maybe. But But if you brought Dynamite in, like either partner, either Dynamite's coming in for Davey Boy or Warrior's coming in for Sting, and call them Blade Runners, whatever. Like, fuck. Yeah. But Fred Ott was not the guy that was like, holy shit, they got Fred Ott. Wow.
No, that's what I'm saying. Fred is not the Shockmaster type of person.
Steve Lombardi.
The Brooklyn Brawler. They would have called him the Bronx Badass Dude.
Bronx Bomber.
The Bronx Bomber coming through the wall with a bat. Oh, God. Now we're really getting ridiculous on this scenario. But anyway, you know what? I'll say this. I kind of agree with you. If Hogan did the Luger route where he just did his dates, it's the only perceivable way to shock the world. Hogan would have done the shit. But again, Eric Bischoff did not have total power, so that's why it didn't work. That's why he was laying in the weeds and doing what he was doing.
This is what if. What if Eric Bischoff had total power?
Yeah, this is a very interesting what if. Would you have done it because
he wouldn't have come through the wall? He would have walked out.
No. I'm saying for shock the world and shock whatever. Would you have done Ric Flair as kind of like a 12th, 11th hour kind of substitute where he's doing this and then he just kind of like belts Vader? Because then you're building something towards Starrcade between Flair and Vader because his career was on the line. Because the way they had Flair doing his things kind of made him look like they were trying to weaken him a little bit too much. And then when he beat Vader,
I never ever bought Flair as a babyface ever. And if Flair would have done it.
No, I'm just saying because the way I'm saying it is that let's say it was like they had a plan. It was going to be Hogan, right? Like your scenario, it would have been Hogan. But then Hogan says, "I'm not doing it, brother. It ain't gonna work for me, brother." But then Flair says, He does like the Black Scorpion thing. He's the 11th hour substitute. But then you're building towards Starrcade. It would work out very well because then in my thought process, in that scenario, again, but then you have that world heavyweight title thing. But I think my booking for Vader would actually make more sense because Vader could have decimated Flair in the War Games. Then Flair questions, does he have anything left to give? Then he challenges and puts his career on the line for Vader against him at the world.
But how many times has Flair turned on Sting at this point? 2?
I lost count, but
right.
it's still in.
So him being with Sting would be like, "Fuck you, buddy."
Yeah.
Luger didn't come till 96 or 5, right?
95, yeah. He was still under contract.
Luger would have been way too early to be him, but that would have been cool if he just basically, fuck those guys. Because back then, I guess he did have a contract. He didn't have one with WCW. That's how he was able to just leave. But I think to shock the world the way they were implying it, nobody would have been bigger than Hogan walking out because he had just lost the world title. He had just stolen it from Bret Hart before that.
And he's on his way out, so it would have worked there. So that's the only name that would shock the world. And with that being said,
what if it was CM Punk?
He would have been maybe 8 years old. How old is he?
8.
I don't know how old he was in 93, but he's kind of young to do that. That's all I'm saying. He probably is 8, 9 years old at that time. But
how old were you in 93?
How old was I in 93? Well, I'm already 10. I'm 16.
So he's 13 because he's 41, 42 right now.
Oh, I'm older than him? Oh, goddamn. That's even more embarrassing right now.
Oh, maybe he's not. Then if he's not, then he was 18.
Well, then it is what it is. But he wouldn't have shocked the world. But with that being said, we close on this what if. We did it. We're the only... I defy you. I challenge the Reflectionites to find any other nostalgic podcast, to find any post, and send it to my Twitter at PWHustle PRS as proof. TN Couponer, Christopher Paul Bruce Winland. Find evidence that.
Jake the Snake would have been a surprise.
Ooh, would that shock the world?
Yeah. Because by then, didn't he already do spin the wheel, make the deal with Sting?
Yeah, he betrayed Sting, so that would have been really shocking that Sting would have actually trusted him again. So, Rick Rude would have worked because Rick Rude doesn't like Sting, and he was already having his wars with him with the corporation. Well, I mean, Sting and Paul Heyman's corporation and stuff like that.
Alliance.
And of course, Alliance, whatever the case may be. But anyway, we close. And again, Christopher Paul, Bruce Winland, TN Couponer, Josh Floberg. If you can find evidence that other people other scenarios. Have you seen this on Twitter? Have you seen this on Facebook groups? Have you seen this on other nostalgic podcasts? I challenge you to find this for the professor, because I think we're the only ones that are brave enough, bold enough, and actually made it work to a certain degree to protect Uncle Fred Ottman, and we gave him a run of a 6 to 9 month career, and we gave him a fucking Starrcade main event match. But anyway, we close on this What If special on the PWR podcast at the Hami Media Group at podbean.com. So TW, give out those socials so we can finally get out of here. What are we going to do next week? Wait a minute. What are we going to do next week?
When is the last time we've done a rivalry?
When is the last time we've done a rivalry? We did one with, we did Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect.
August? July? When was it?
Well, maybe it was August. Yeah. So
we've done movies. We've done Spotlight. This was a Spotlight. What if? This fucking Typhoon's never been talked about this much by anybody. Let alone What If.
We're the only ones that are bold enough and brave enough to do it. But again, next week we probably might go episodic. So you're talking about rivalries. So let me think about that. So we'll get a rivalries going. But I think we'll go episodic. Then we'll do a rivalry. So go ahead, TW, give out those socials so we can finally get out of here.
Alrighty, the Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us, and you can find them at PWC Network at podbean.com, where you can also find the Hameen Media Group at podbean.com, and they're also at channelattitude.com. Our Twitter is at PW Reflection, and then of course we can't do this without Big Ray. And if you're on social media in any way, shape, or form, and you're looking for Big Ray, you're going to find him, and all you got to do is type in at Big Ray Hernandez. And every Wednesday, he's on the Next Level podcast. You can check him out there. My Instagram and Heelish X is at TommyWonder19. My Babyface X and TikTok are at the Tommy Wonder. Snapchat is at @Wonder. Facebook.com/TommyWonder. And then you can also find Big Vito and Noel at bigvitobrand.wixsite.com, patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand. And then you can watch the early release of Reflection videos at twitch.tv/the Big Vito Brand. And listen, if you're going to follow me, if you're going to friend request me, you're going to do any of that stuff, please send me a message too, because I get so many random friend requests that I have no idea who these people are, why they're friend requesting me, and a lot of them can't be trusted. You can't trust it. But what I usually look for is if the professor is a mutual friend or Big Ray's a mutual friend, I usually accept them even if I don't know who the heck they are. But if you can just tell me that you're requesting me because you're a fan of the show, that's awesome. It's the fast track to get me to accept it if I haven't already.
All right. Well, yes. That's the way I do it too. If I find that TW is a mutual friend, I might give you a pass. But if you're from the Ghanas, if you're from Gaza, hell no, I'm never going to accept you because you're a fucking scammer. It is the truth. I'm not being racist. It's the truth, because if I get somebody from Africa with no mutual friends, I am not doing, if you want to give me some kind of,
it would be more nationalist than racist.
Yeah, there you go. I'm very nationalist. If I ain't accepting a friend request from someone from Africa if I don't have a mutual friend who did.
If you have a girl picture but your name is Sam Dolly, I ain't doing it either. So.
There you go. With that being said, my extra is PWHustle PR Web. That's PWHustle Prof. And if this gets uploaded by that slow ass 8-track Brown, this will be available on the PWHustle YouTube networks. Follow my brothers in arms. 8-track Brown, the 30th of the city. He's got so many reactions. He's got Ahsoka. He's got Walking Dead. He's got, Loki Season 2. He's doing the Gen Z, The Boys. All the stuff is available on the PWHustle YouTube network. So follow him at the number 8, TRAC Brown. And, of course, the host of the Wednesday Locker Room, Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And, again, next week we'll probably go episodic. And the week after we'll do a rivalries. But I got to think about that very carefully. And what is that? You're holding up a Rick Steiner Dogface Gremlin 1999 circa action figure from WCW Nitro Days. And with that being said, I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful. Its own Tommy Wonder saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the PWR Podcast, the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast at Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Peace.
Shockmaster.
Don't bust your ass, please.